Hello and welcome to the Voice with Action podcast. I'm here with Rebecca, and today we are going to focus on Orphan Relief and Rescue. And we do anti-trafficking preventative work in West Africa. But specifically, we get questions all the time, of people saying, what is it? Why is it that you are different from other NGOs that are also doing, anti-trafficking prevention work? So I just kind of wanted to ask Rebecca some of these questions that we hear all the time. And why is it that this organization even exists to begin with? So, Rebecca, how are we different from other NGOs?
Yeah, just in our name, Orphan Relief and Rescue, there's a zillion orphan ministries out there. And we love all of the ministries and what they're doing, and it's wonderful. For us in particular, I personally, with the founding, being a co-founder of Orphan Relief and Rescue, in the early days, this is the last thing that I wanted to do. I didn't want to start an organization. Our family had been in missions for 8 years. This was not something that I set out to do yet. When we started stumbling upon the dying kids, I was the one that was determined we're not going to start an organization. There's plenty of organizations out there that do orphan work and feed the hungry and feed the dying, and the numerous names that we all can easily, we've seen them on TV, the Feed the Hungry commercials, all the different ones. And yet, when we were faced with the dying right in front of us, I was the one that got on the phone and I started calling these different ministries and said, I've got an orphanage of 109 kids that are literally starving, that are going to die. And would you please consider helping them with your program? Because this is what you do. I found some dying kids for you, Each one had reasons why they don't help children in those circumstances. One organization was very clear to spell out the details of why. They say, the orphanage system, it's corrupt and it's like a big black hole and you don't know who's good, who's honest. You don't know if it's going to hit the children or not, or, feed the children. So we just don't touch those orphanages. We don't touch those type of situations. And I totally get it. I understand. And so one after the next, I thought somebody surely will take a risk on coming in with the infrastructure that they have within their organization to make sure that the funds do hit the kids and do get into their bellies the food that they give them. Yet I hit a roadblock with every single organization. And it wasn't until I had called my entire list of, first it started in one country and then another West African country, that I just went down the list of who I knew were in those countries because they advertised where they were at and what they do. So it was roadblock after roadblock. And that is when the Lord literally turned the tables on me. What are you going to do with this? How are you going to say yes to me? Or are you going to say yes to me with what I ask you to do? So it was simply helping the dying kids at the beginning, that we just simply started feeding hungry kids. And then we had to link arms with the government because I wanted to leave behind something that was going to work. So I got the social welfare office involved. And obviously the police, they had to get involved when it was child protection, different things. So it kind of just morphed into what it is now today. Now we're doing anti-trafficking work. We're helping literally thousands of kids indirectly. We're helping over 700 kids directly with just our Feeding in School program. And then we have another 61 kids in a safe home orphanage situation. It is literally watching God part the Red Sea for what he was wanting us to do. But it was literally saying, we are only going to start Orphan Relief and Rescue to help the children in the most complicated situations, in the places that nobody else knows what to do with. Police don't know what to do with these children. Social welfare office doesn't know what to do with these children. Government offices don't know what to do with the children. The mayors, the chief of the village, all of these different ones literally do not know how to solve the problems of protecting the children in their areas with these complicated situations. We're working in villages in West Africa where it's secret society villages. Nobody talks about what happens in the spiritual realm of the secret societies. So when children disappear for secret society reasons, where they're used in a ritual or sacrifice or something like that, nobody is going to tell somebody on the outside. And therefore, when somebody wants to traffic a child, or once a trafficked child wants to buy a slave child, they go to those villages because they know when those children disappear, nobody's going to ask questions because it's secret society stuff. Nobody talks about what happens in those villages. It's just known that if you talk about what's happening there, you will be killed as a local if you're sharing the spiritual secrets or the physical secrets that would be taboo, would be a scandal for that village. So therefore, they don't talk about anything that is child protective related or spiritual related that is harming children in these areas, because they don't want the implications of being killed, honestly. I mean, it's that drastic. I didn't believe that until we got into these villages and started seeing what is actually happening. And it was shocking. But then I realized, well, this is why the outside world isn't in these villages. And if they are, nothing works. Everything fails. We have all these different organizations that have told us, oh, we've tried that there. It doesn't work. So we pulled out. And God has placed us in these areas where children have been used and harmed in ways that, obviously, I've written 2 books on it. You could read my Inspired to Action book and my Inspired to Live an Extraordinary Life book if you want to read some of the stories of what different children have been rescued from. It is unbelievable what God has favored Orphan Relief and Rescue with to be able to rescue kids. And people who partner with us and donate to this literally are saving lives. Each of you who are saying, I'm going to help you with this, are saving lives. We are doing what multi-million-dollar organizations are doing with the amount of children that we're helping and rescuing and saving from being not only sold, but harmed, married off at an early age. There's huge circumcision stuff that's happening with girls, little girls, so that they'll never have pleasure in that realm as they grow older. Just horrific things. We're saving kids from that. So we are in areas that I say are the most complicated places, but it's where no one else is doing what we are doing. And so we have literally, our motto when we started Orphan Relief Rescue, that still continues today, is that we will help children who no one else knows how to help and how to, in a sense, rescue and keep rescued or keep protected. And we are learning as we go. I mean, we have incredible staff who absolutely love Jesus. They're not afraid to go into these secret society villages, and they're not afraid to touch these untouchable subjects that we have to touch on, child sacrifice and kids disappearing, and our staff literally not going to stop until they find out where that child disappeared to. And then the police are involved. And I mean, they're literally warriors there. They're the heroes on the ground. But we are different from other organizations in the realm that we run into. We used to walk into. Now we're running into these situations to protect children that no one else will protect. Now, once we alert officials of what's happening, they do come alongside us. And they feel reinforced by us and protected by us through what they're doing as well as they're protecting us. The police, when we call them, they will come immediately to our aid. So we're literally helping each other help these children. And, within these different areas, I always say we want to make the locals, especially the officials, we want to make them the heroes. We don't want to be the heroes. We are only doing what we know God has asked us to do to protect children. But our job is also to equip and help these local officials do their job as well. And you were you at the one, Deb, where we found out that the police didn't even have the Child Protective Service didn't even have
Yeah, didn't even have a vehicle. So even if so if the police force that's designed to protect children didn't even have a mode of transportation, if they got a phone call, they would have to, so they couldn't even respond. So we were like, well, let's assist you and provide you with a motorcycle so that you can respond when we call you, and you need to come and address the situation. I do love to, with our organization, one thing I admire about our staff and just kind of even our approach to our work is, like you said, we started with 109 kids that were dying, but what we didn't know is these kids were located in this region where trafficking was huge, and we didn't even know that. Only God knew that, and no one was able to reach it. And so then some of our staff members went and actually listened to the local people in the village and said, what would keep you from trafficking your children? So our staff's always listening, always asking questions, always wanting to learn from the community of what would work for you, because we might have ideas or experience of what we did in this other country, but it might not work here. So the people said, well, if you can enroll our kids in school and provide food for them, then we will not traffic them. And so that's how it started. And now it's grown from there. And then now, like you said, getting the local leaders and chiefs and police and force and social welfare involved.
Yeah, and it's really asking the questions with the officials. What is your greatest need with protecting children? And what is your greatest hardship? And what is your greatest joy? And you immediately find out, like for us, it was a new police force that was directed to protect children. It's called the Child Protection Division of the police force. In this area where we worked, like you said, didn't have transportation to get to protect kids. They said, oh, well, the officials who had us start 2 years ago said to just be patient. They'll get us transportation. And I said, well, how are you even making when we call you, how do you get to us? And they said, well, we have to walk a mile to the social welfare office and see if they have a motorbike available for us to come to your aid with the child. And I was just listening at that point. I didn't make any promises because I don't do that when right in front of them. But I literally walked away thinking, oh my goodness, they have no way of getting to us. And if the social welfare office is busy with their motorbike, they're not coming to our aid. And so talking with the country director, it was very evident that we needed to provide a motorbike for them, and with hopes that their actual officials, in the city would send them more transportation alongside that. But yeah, it was literally asking the right questions because they've been there, throughout those 2 years, and we are working alongside them. And so, yeah, just asking a few extra questions, we find their felt need of what they need to even do their job and be the hero that we want them to be in those areas.
Yeah. So what are some recent stories of examples of why we keep doing this? These kids, even these recent stories that come through of children being rescued, that if Orphan Relief and Rescue didn't exist, they would literally die.
Yeah. So one girl, she's 9 years old, and she was going to be trafficked. So our team went in and intercepted that sale, basically, put her on our program. And then what our monitors do is they go in and they make sure that she's at school every day. So we've got over 700 kids now on our feeding in school program. We have monitors that go in every single day and they're doing roll call to make sure every single child is at school. If they're not at school, they go to their house of where they're at. And that in itself is very interesting because they have to find in the village areas with no addresses on houses. It's just, you go to this bush and you take a right, then you go to this tree and you take a left. And, that's how directions are there. So they went to this little girl's home and found out that she wasn't sick. Her mother was deep in debt, and she had already promised her daughter to be sold to a man And we don't know if it was to be his wife or to just resell to someone else for more money. But she had already negotiated and made a deal that this man was going to pay off her debt and she was going to exchange by giving her daughter to this man. And this was going to occur within the day. So our monitor immediately said, if you do that, then you will go to jail because we will get the police involved. And she says, well, I can't even feed my children. How am I going to feed my other children if I don't do this? I can't pay my debt. I can't feed my children. So my monitor said, okay, just give us some time. And she actually went, brought her back some food for her children for a certain amount of time, and just said, there is a savings and loan community program that you can be a part of to help start a business so you can help yourself. But in the meantime, we want to give you this food to help your family. But we're saying, do not sell this child. If you traffic her, we will get the police involved, because this little girl's on our program and she's under our protection now. And the mother said, well, I don't want her to be on the program anymore. I want to take her off the program because I need this money. And she was very ungrateful for even the food that was being given to her. And she didn't want to help herself. She just wanted to alleviate her immediate problem. Now, at the same time, she's deep entrenched into the religious practice that she's in that doesn't value children as well in that village. So our monitor literally said, okay, if you feel this strong about this and we come back tomorrow and this little girl's gone, you will be in jail the next day because the police will be involved. And we're going to be monitoring this little girl from here on out very carefully. So we want you to know that. And if you have problems in your personal life, you need to go to the social welfare office and get some counsel from them of what to do from here because of the situation that you're in. And the social welfare office is great with helping them kind of navigate and directing them even to the savings and loan program, helping them with ideas creatively of how to help their children. Yeah, so that was a life saved immediately because of being there and being involved. So that was a rescue mission that is literally these 700 kids. They've been rescued because they've been intercepted from being sold or they've come back from slavery. But at the same time, they're not in the clear because of the families they live in. Now, our hope is that these families will come to Jesus, will help themselves in business-wise with the community savings and loan program that's provided for them. That's our prayer every day for them. And we are seeing many, many of these parents come to Jesus. Many of them have renounced their voodoo and their witchcraft practices and their religious practices that have the demonic all intertwined with it, that literally does not value life. And they're renouncing that. And literally, God opens their eyes and they begin to value their children and love their children. And that's our prayer for this woman, that she, right now, it's like she has, I look at it like scales, like Paul in the Bible said, he had scales over his eyes. And when he basically committed his life to Jesus, the scales dropped off. It said it was as if there was thick crusted scales that dropped off his eyes. And that's what we're seeing in these villages. It's as if they are completely blinded when they're in this spiritual darkness. And then they come to Jesus and their eyes are opened and they all of a sudden begin to love. The love that Jesus has comes in and transforms their life, and they start valuing their children and valuing their neighbors' children and fighting for the kids to be not sold. And it's just this whole transformation that we're seeing village after village after village. And this is what is the most exciting thing for us, because this is where you see the cultural shift, where abusive cultural behaviors stop. We're not there to change the beauty of their culture. We're there to change the abusive cultural things that have happened to children that under the guise of culture, many.
Yeah, the patterns. Yeah.
Yeah. Way. You just sell your kids because it's survival.
Yeah. Yeah, because they had no other choice, no other option. But now for the first time, they've been given a choice, that you don't have to sell your children. You can join Orphan Relief and Rescue, join the community now has their own savings and loan program. There are other choices that they have even hope. So one thing that's new with kind of a new layer of our anti-trafficking is that we've had kids, that we told families, if you know where they've been trafficked and you can bring them home, then we will add them to our program. Well, so parents are responding and bringing kids home from these horrific situations. Now, these kids are too old to start school. So a new layer is that then we're learning if these kids can join like an apprenticeship, learn a skill, learn a trade, then they're able to give back to their community and be a part of their community. So this is a new layer, our apprenticeships. Rebecca, do you want to share anything with that?
Yeah, a new development that has transpired now is we're taking some of these graduates and we're testing them right now. As of this month, we're testing the graduates from these different apprenticeships, and we're seeing what their skill level is, because our goal is that they would be the trainers, the new trainers for new apprentice kids coming in under them, that they will be able to train them, and it's, paying it forward basically. So yeah, this is a new thing. Normally we've just taken an established teacher that's already been in the community and we put apprentices under them. But now we have so many graduates, and we have 13 staff working for us that have graduated from universities and gotten professional degrees now, that work for Orphan Relief and Rescue in a professional capacity. So now we're taking that to the apprentice level, and we want these apprentices that there's some of them that, oh man, like seamstresses, they sew so good. I attended a wedding if you watched the November, I was in one of the weddings of one of these children that got married. He's 23 now. And he's been on our program for 20 years, since he was 3 years old. He's our longest one that we talked about. His name's Fabrice. And I had to go to his wedding, and he wanted me to wear a certain type of dress, and he wanted it to be white. And so I literally took a picture and gave it to one of these apprentice graduates. And she literally designed it herself through this picture and made it beautiful. Now she is one that is teaching now, because she's so good. She's teaching other girls under her.
I could put a link in the show notes of Gloria's her apprenticeship program, and she has like 8 girls underneath her now. It really is beautiful. And some of these women, like even the woman who's our head cook, she is saving money on the side. She wants to buy land. She has a dream of owning her own bakery. And so these young people, they have so much vision, of what, how, and a vision to like save, and a vision to provide, but not only for themselves, but for their community. It is that giving back.
Yes.
Where they see the kids that they're serving, they see themselves because they were once there, and they want to help their own. And it really is beautiful.
So we're finding more Glorias out there in the village that we're going to utilize to train other young women or young men, depending on what their, trade is. Mm-hmm. And we're excited. We're going to see just so many more kids that are at the level of like Gloria, who really has an eye and has the skill to not only sew beautifully, but is also learning how to train others to do what she's done, and how to have an eye for detail with all that. So yeah, that's beautiful.
Well, with the remaining time that we have, one more new element that we want to implement is this Break the Silence program that we've done in one country. So will you explain this is an education piece where we are educating kids on what is abuse, what does abuse look like, and how you can, if you're being abused, what you can do.
Yes. So we started in Liberia with the Break the Silence program, and it literally came out of finding out that kids were having to do sexual favors in exchange for simple things at school, like paper or pencil or whatever. I thought that was honestly not a real thing. I started asking neighbor children around, and then there was a little girl that actually knocked on my door asking for school supplies, and I asked her, more details about it, and she said that she needed the supplies so that she didn't have to do bad things to her teacher. Or no, she didn't say bad things because they didn't talk that way. She said so that she didn't have to do what her teacher was requiring her to do for, these school supplies. And I says, well, what is it that this teacher is requiring of you? And then she started telling me about these sexual things. And I was in shock, completely in shock. And I said, is this normal? Is this a normal thing with the other kids? And she didn't even blink. She says, yeah, this is just what we have to do. So I was completely traumatized by that conversation. And in more research that I did, I found out this was a normal thing that happens where these children are exploited, but because they can't afford to purchase their own supplies. And so these terrible sexual abusive situations are happening at schools to get these supplies, and in different areas, all different areas in these neighborhoods as well. So we created a Break the Silence program that literally is a flip chart training program that teaches kids what physical and sexual abuse is, what trafficking is. And it's a flip chart training 2-hour program that goes into schools and orphanages. And then at the end, they have a hotline that they can call if they feel that they are being abused, or we direct them to tell a trusted adult. And we talk about what a trusted adult looks like. And so we have done that very successfully. We've now partnered with World Hope International in Liberia to our goal. We want this to be in every school in Liberia as a prerequisite by the government to accredit a school. We're not there quite yet, but this year World Hope is going into 150 schools with some of our staff that migrated who are now their staff. And we're going to train trainers in April in the French version. And we're taking it into, this other country that's going to be empowered to know. Kids are going to be empowered to know that they have rights and that they can say no to these things that they have to feel like they are forced to do for simple supplies and simple daily living things. So we're excited about that program coming into this next country to help many more children.
Yeah. Well, thank you for joining us today and learning more about what Orphan Relief and Rescue does. If you have questions, the best place would be to visit us at orphanreliefandrescue.org. You can email us at info@orphanreliefandrescue.org. We'd love to answer questions. If you'd like to partner with us and support us in this endeavor, we are currently in 8 villages, and this whole region that's impacted by trafficking is 50 villages. So there's much room to grow, and we need every single dollar goes so far. And so it's $50 a month, provides one child, puts them in school, provides 2 meals a day for them, provides safety, the monitoring of them every day. And then their parents are invited to be a part of the community, has a savings and loan program that they're invited to be a part of. So yes, if you'd love to know more, reach out. Thank you for listening to the Voice with Action podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, would you consider sharing or subscribing to this podcast and leave a 5-star review to help us grow? If you want to reach us or help us end child trafficking in West Africa, go to orphanreliefandrescue.org. That's orphanreliefandrescue.org. See you next week.